Is a side hustle still a side hustle if it earns more than your day job, than your main gig? Most people never get to find out. Most people never get to that point.
Some
But
people don't even know that it's possible.
well, right. But some people who work side hustles in real estate end up earning six figures from those side hustles. Many go on to quit their day job entirely and go make that side hustle their full time gig, their full time business. So today, Denny, let's walk through some real estate side hustles that can earn six figures or more in a year. Um, some of these you guys have heard of before, some of them might be new to you. We'll go through them quickly just to give you some fresh ideas and stuff that maybe you haven't considered before. So, on that note, real estate photography is the first one that we will cover. Uh, Professional real estate photographers can earn great money, hundreds of dollars per shoot. They show up, they spend 15 minutes shooting the property, and then they leave, and they walk away with hundreds of dollars in their pockets.
Now, mind you, they have to have some type of creativity and experience and
Yeah, I mean, don't take your iPhone over there and think that you're gonna, walk away with $400 for 15 minutes worth of work. But you can earn good money as a real estate photographer if you're trained, if you have great camera equipment and you know how to use it properly. People who have a really good eye for how to make rooms look slightly larger, getting the perfect angle, using the perfect lens, without having it be super obvious, like fishbowl lens or fisheye lens. Uh, it also helps to be able to take drone shots. Is taking video, drone videos, drone photos, that can help you charge significantly more. Virtual staging can also help you charge more as a real estate photographer. You can take those photos of empty rooms and with a few clicks of the button, if you are good at this and if you have the right software, you can virtually stage those photos to make it look pretty real. It can be
which
difficult to
blows my
tell.
mind,
Yeah, I
really.
mean, the technology's gotten much better over the last couple of years for digital staging, virtual staging, where you often can't tell if a room actually has that furniture in it or if it was virtually staged after the fact, in post production. So anyway, real estate photography. Denny, any other thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I think that's a good option.
All right, so everyone knows about flipping houses, and we can talk on that for a second, but we all get the idea. Everyone has seen Chip and Joanna Gaines, going out there and flipping houses. You get it. You go out, you buy a fixer upper, you add a bunch of value by renovating it, and then you sell it retail to a homeowner. Uh, I've flipped houses before. My stepdad has flipped houses before. Denny, you've probably flipped houses. I know your family members have flipped houses before. Um,
We've
you
had
can
good times and bad times.
Yeah, well, exactly. You can make very good money in a short period of time. Typically people make tens of thousands of dollars on a single house flip. It's also a lot of work, right? I mean, flipping houses is real work, and it's not just, oh yeah, I'll just pay a contractor to go in there and take care of it. No, you have to monitor those renovations very closely, often going every day to look at the status of the repairs and pointing out to the contractor where they are not doing quality work, how they need to fix it, keeping them on schedule, getting permits for these renovations, and getting the use and occupancy permit when it's all finished, and
Not to
all of that.
mention the
Um,
possibility of finding huge issues.
Absolutely. So it is a lot of work, but it can be very lucrative. You can earn a good amount of money in a short period of time if you're willing to take it on as a full side hustle. I mean, it is a business. It's a business to flip houses. What a lot of people are not as familiar with is flipping mobile homes. So, Denny, you and I have interviewed people who they'll go out and they will buy individual mobile homes that are in poor repair, and they will turn around and fix them up and then sell them for full market value, often double what they paid for them, or even double what their all-in costs are for buying and renovating those mobile homes. Sometimes they will put them on a lot of land. They'll buy a parcel of land, install the mobile home as a semi-permanent residence, and sell the entire thing as retail to home buyers, on the MLS. So there's a lot of ways to make money there. It's a niche real estate side hustle that a lot of people aren't familiar with can be very lucrative. And it
It's
does not,
also growing in popularity.
yeah, and it doesn't take much cash either. That's one other thing that a lot of people don't realize about flipping mobile homes is that you don't need a lot of cash to do it potentially. Um, so that's a way to make very high returns on a relatively small amount of cash. All right, moving on. Flipping land parcels. Denny, you and I used to do this.
Yes.
Yeah, along with your daughter and her husband, we formed a little company, and as a side hustle ourselves, we flipped land, and it was fun. It has its own quirks, and it is very much a business. It is a side hustle, um, but it is not the same amount of work as flipping houses, for example. Um,
More administrative.
yeah, it's paperwork basically. I mean, you're going out, you're buying parcels of land at a deep discount. You send out a whole bunch of mailers, typically direct mail to landowners, often out of state landowners or landowners who are in some kind of distress. Maybe they owe back taxes on the property or something like that. And then you buy the property for, typically 25 to 50 cents on the dollar, and you turn around and you sell it for full retail value. So there's some marketing involved, learning how to sell land parcels. Um, but it's a fun way to earn some extra money and to earn some high returns. And Denny, you in the co-investing club, we have invested with at least two land
Oh,
flippers, maybe three at this, no, three at this point.
three. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And
and they do
they've
really
gone
well.
well.
Yeah. So one of the land flippers who we invest with, he has a fund, and we in the co-investing club. So we meet every month. For anyone who's not familiar with the co-investing club, we meet every month. We vet a new passive real estate investment together as an investment club, and then we'll go in on it together. And each person can invest a much smaller amount than the typical 50 or 100 grand you normally need to invest in private equity real estate. So we've invested in a land fund that pays 16% distribution yields, annualized, and they pay out every quarter. It's been great. We have invested private notes with land flipping companies. We've gone in on partnerships with land flippers, and they've all gone well. So it's a great business model. So consider that as another side hustle that doesn't require you to swing hammers or deal with permits or contractors. All right, moving on. Real estate wholesaling. You guys are probably familiar with this. If you're not, then the short version is you go out, you put a property under contract at a deep discount, you find a really good deal on a property, and then you turn around and you sell that contract to another real estate investor. So you never actually take ownership of that property. You just put it under contract and then flip that contract basically to another real estate investor. You don't have to come up with a down payment. You don't have to deal with a lender or find financing. You don't have to deal with renovations or contractors or permits or any of that stuff.
You just got to find them.
Yeah. So there's really two skills involved in wholesaling. One is finding great deals on properties, and two is building a buyer's list, a network of actual real estate investors who want to buy these. So, the idea is if you, let's say you find a property that's worth $200,000 as is, you put it under contract for $160,000, and then you turn around and sell that contract to another real estate investor for $170,000. So you earn that $10,000 spread between what you are putting under contract for and what you're selling that contract for to a real estate investor. Denny, anything you want to add to that before we move on?
No, that's about it.
Yeah, so it's a great business model. You don't need much cash to do it, but there is a lot of marketing involved in that, both to buy the properties and then to sell them. All right, number 6, owning short-term rentals, Airbnbs. That has become much more popular over the last decade. I think the first time I stayed in an Airbnb actually was a decade ago.
Wow.
It's hard to imagine that it was that recent. I mean, over the last decade, I've stayed in dozens and dozens of Airbnbs all over the world. I spent the last 10 years traveling around the world internationally with my wife and daughter. My daughter was actually born overseas. She has Brazilian citizenship in addition to U.S. citizenship. But yeah, I think I stayed at my first Airbnb in 2015, which that sounds very recent. But Airbnb, it seems like they've been here forever, but it really wasn't that long ago when they became popular. So anyway, owning short-term rentals, that is a great business model in some cities and neighborhoods, not in every city or every neighborhood. It's banned in some cities. And in other cities, the business model, the economics of it just don't make that much sense. Maybe there's not enough tourism to support it, et cetera. But that is a way to make some extra money and potentially to use the property yourself periodically, maybe in the off season or the shoulder season when it's not being rented, so it doesn't actually cost you bookings. But it's a great and fun real estate side hustle. Uh, Anything you want to add there, Denny?
I just think I know I have family members who do that, and they also use it themselves. So they have their vacations up in the mountains, and they pretty much it pays for everything. So they don't. Yeah, there's a lot of good positives in it.
Yeah, just make sure you don't cannibalize your returns by
Oh, right.
using the property yourself when during the high season or when it would otherwise be booked. And that's actually one of the things that when we've interviewed Airbnb investors on our podcast or on our YouTube channel, one of the things that they say is if you're going to buy a property that you want to use yourself, make sure that it's within a couple hours drive of where you live so that you can take advantage of it last minute when you know that there's not a booking. So if there's good weather one weekend and it's not booked, you can make that last minute game time decision like, oh, you know what? Let's just throw our stuff in the car on a Friday afternoon, this afternoon, and go use the cabin this weekend or whatever. But if the property is halfway across the country, you can't do that, right?
No, I mean it would be nice, but no.
Yeah. All right. Number 7, managing short-term rentals, managing Airbnbs. That can be very lucrative. Uh,
You're
Probably
speaking managing for others.
managing for other people. Yeah. So you can charge higher rates, higher percentages of the income collected because the work is more. It is more labor intensive to manage an Airbnb or VRBO than it is to manage a long-term rental. Uh,
Although there's a lot of automations that are available that make it a lot easier.
No question. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, automated entry, all sorts. And, there is some, and you can pay someone else to do the cleaning, of course. But yeah, managing short term rentals can be a very lucrative side hustle, especially if you own some Airbnbs in that same region yourself. So you can self manage your own and manage other people's properties, earn some great money that way. And that's another, all these side hustles can expand into a full time business if you want them to. All right, last but not least, subleasing flexible office space. This is one that hadn't really occurred to me, but I was writing an article about this for Bigger Pockets, and I asked a few real estate investors who I know. I was like, hey, what are some of your favorite real estate side hustles that can earn 6 figures? They can really earn great money for you without full time work required. Earn what can pay you a 6 figure a year income without full time work. And one of the guys responded back that he goes out and he rents office space in high demand areas, areas where, and yeah, Dan, you and I've talked a lot about how, office space has really struggled since the pandemic,
Yeah, oh yeah.
continues struggling even with some return to office mandates. Um, that being said, there are some places in this country and in the world where there is still high demand for office space. So what he does, he'll go out and he'll rent a big office space in these areas, and he'll carve them up and rent individual offices or suites of offices, smaller suites of offices, or even co-working areas, and rent those out at a premium to what he's paying in for the bulk discount for the entire thing. And it's really lucrative for him. So he earns thousands and thousands of dollars a month and does not do much work in managing these. So once they are rented, um, office tenants typically are responsible for all of their own maintenance and cleanup and repairs and all that. So he doesn't do much work on these. The most of the work is in the initial market research and due diligence to make sure that there is a good market there for renting out this space. Because obviously, if it sits vacant, you're not going to earn money. You're going to lose money. But once it's rented, it's just marketing to get them filled up, and then the checks just come in every month. So in a typical month, he's collecting 5 to 10 grand without having to lift a
That's
finger.
amazing. That's awesome. And there's
Yeah,
probably it's not It's a little bit easier than residential by
Much
far.
easier than residential.
Yeah.
If the numbers work, if the demand is there. So yeah, again, it's a niche strategy, and there can be very good money in these niche strategy. As the saying goes, the riches are in the niches, right?
I never heard that. I like it.
Yeah. So as a recap, uh, 8 real estate side hustles that can pay 6 figures a year at part-time work. One, real estate photography, especially drone photography and with virtual staging, flipping houses, flipping mobile homes, flipping land, wholesaling real estate contracts, owning short-term rentals, managing other people's short-term rentals, and subleasing flexible office space as number 8. And on a personal note, I am sitting here in my own co-working office right now. Um, and I love it. And I've been working out of co-working spaces over the last 4 countries that I've lived in.
Which
Just
is
moved back.
crazy.
Yeah. So, in Lima, Peru, where I was last, rented a co-working space. In Brasilia, in Brazil, rented a co-working space. In Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, rented a co-working space to work from.
And your favorite one?
Well, my favorite office is actually here in Baltimore. My new one. I'm paying a lot more for it than I did in some of the other places, but it's super fancy. They've got cold brew on tap, and they've got all the fancy espresso makers. That'll whip up cappuccinos for you, and all that stuff. So anyway, Denny, anything else you want to add about lucrative real estate side hustles before we call this episode complete?
I just think that where you just got to be creative. I mean, you could even rent rooms in your own home if you have that ability and bring in money, or take in an exchange student.
Yeah, and so Denny is being modest, but she actually house hacked by hosting a foreign exchange student, a teenager from China, who you hosted for 4 years, right? And covered
Yes.
most of your mortgage payment.
Yeah, he just visited us. He's in college.
Yeah, so you can get super creative with house hacking, with real estate side hustles. So go out there, get creative, and find those niches that pay the riches. Guys, if you got a fresh perspective from this episode, please subscribe, share it, pass it on, friends, family members, neighbors. And lastly, if you're not familiar with the kinds of passive real estate investments that we get together and vet as an investment club every month in the co-investing club, check out sparkrental.com/free. We have a free course, 8 videos. They're all short, like 8-10 minutes long, to explain 5 different types of passive real estate investments that we look at: equity funds, debt funds, syndications, notes, all that stuff. So on that note, stay weird, unconventional investor.